Hello, and welcome to the Libri Labra book club. As always, I'm joined by my husband, John, aka BookTube Hubby, and by book club VIP, Tom Brennan.
Howdy.
That was loud.
What?
That was loud.
Well, I muted
Okay,
it. It's
done.
fine. So, this month? Last month? Which month?
Last month.
May. May's book was The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, and that's what we're going to be talking about. We'll kind of go into initial thoughts, and then we're going to be jumping into spoiler territory. So, being this is like, when was this published? In the 80s, I think?
Yes.
It's been around for a while, so I'm hoping maybe a lot of people have read it and can jump in and not have to leave to go read it. But we will be discussing spoilers, so just be aware of that.
And if you watch the show, that's a bonus too.
It did follow the show pretty
damn well.
Yeah. So, Tom, what made you select this book this month?
Well, I said what you just said. It's been around for a while, and it's just a book I've never read. So I was like, okay, I got to get this read. So then I put that in. Two other books I really should have read by now on the list, and this one was the one that was picked. So that's why.
What were your initial thoughts about it?
I think what would strike a modern reader is how, not predictive, but how it models today's climate, political climate.
It's scary how close, actually.
Yeah.
What are your initial thoughts?
Because we watched the show before I read it, I was like, just taking more of the story. Maybe there's more tidbits in here that the show didn't throw in there. But just because we got the special edition, those were the tidbits that was added. But my initial thoughts was the fact that I was going into this knowing that I knew the story already. So I was kind of on the fence about it. I was okay with it though.
Prior to watching the show, I did not think that this was a book that I would be able to read, just because I guess it's kind of like a classic. And I don't know, I don't normally like those kind of books. I don't know if I really even loved her writing style. There were a lot of times where she was writing dialogue, but she didn't use quotes. I don't know if I identified why she did sometimes and why she didn't other times. But I don't think I was in love with the writing. There were a few spots that I wanted to quote because I felt like they were really deep, but it kind of felt like stream of consciousness writing a little bit. And I guess that kind of makes sense if it was the main character just kind of telling her story. But I think a lot of the writing felt a little disjointed. It was just kind of like these little spurts of thoughts.
It was her journals.
Right.
So, and she won't write it. I don't think.
I mean, also, sure, we didn't have time to be.
Not speaking of Margaret, but the main character, if she's writing in journals, she's not going to have quotes.
Well, so I don't know if you got the same edition, but we got the special edition, the Audible special edition, audiobook, and then I had the ebook on Kindle. But it was narrated by Claire Danes.
Yes.
But it still had a full cast, which doesn't really come into play until after the story. The essays. And there was a little like clip in the beginning of each chapter of like a song playing. So from what I understood, she had kind of recorded everything on tapes. Was that?
Yes.
Okay.
That's in the historical notes.
Okay. Because I know I just kept hearing that little 2-3 seconds in the beginning. And I was like, there has to be some meaning to that they're doing it in every single chapter. Yeah, so that makes sense. So how did she have access to all that?
After the fact?
But they couldn't even like identify her or really prove that she existed or anything.
Well, they even speculated on how she got away from them to begin with. Like intellectuals at the end of the book that were going over the essays. They were talking about how they weren't even sure whether it was Nick that got her out, whether there's a lot of stuff that they speculated on after the fact, and that's actually kind of what I really did like all that about the book, but the TV show played it out differently. Like they had their own thing that they went along, and then I really like how the book left it off.
I know, like, I had seen a couple reviews on the book itself, and they had mentioned that they felt, or maybe it's just different because we did see the show, but they had mentioned that they felt like there wasn't enough explanation for, how they ended up in Gilead and how things were happening. And I don't think that didn't feel accurate to me, but it's possible that my brain's just filling in holes that we saw in the show.
Tom, you have input on that?
Are you talking about the book or the show?
I'm talking, like, they said that the book didn't provide enough detail in regards to how we ended up in that world. And I didn't really feel like that was the case.
I'm not sure that was the purpose. I think the purpose was, here we are, this is the way things are, and this is what people are doing to each other. And that, I think, was the point of the book. How we got there was, I don't know, not the primary, not the author's primary concern, I think.
Right.
So I would say it.
They, with the essays at the end, they did kind of explain how a specific political climate or like different variables could end up leading to that type of scenario, but they didn't specify on how that specific scenario came about. They did do it better. They did describe some of that in the show, but I think that was added in there for those people that have those questions.
Well, that was in the historical notes too, like the President's Day Massacre and that sort of thing.
Right. There was a little bit, like bits and pieces here and there that kind of pointed to everything that happened, but it was brought up by. Do we actually know that her name was June in the book?
No.
Okay.
Not really.
So let's just say the main character. The
character is unnamed in the book.
Right. It's like she hints at certain things. She brings it up in, it wasn't really to describe anything. It was just a passing thought.
As we were listening to the book, there was a part towards the end when they were talking about the essays and stuff that was so on the nose to like what's happening right now that it just really freaked me out. And I went back to the Kindle to search for some of the text to find out like where in the book I was, and nothing was coming up. So I guess that was added after the fact, because it looks like the book ends with the essays, but with him just being like, anybody have any questions? And then that's it. Whereas they inserted all those additional questions, but I think those additional questions really messed me up. Like that does, it was pretty scary, like reading through the story itself, but those additional questions really like put me in panic mode. And I appreciated the author doing her Q&A at the end as well.
I agree with that.
But a lot of what she said was similar to the interview I posted.
And keep in mind the sequel is going to be out in September, so.
Right, I'm wondering what that's gonna be like.
Book sequel or
the book sequel? Yeah.
I told you that. Did you not know?
I don't recall you telling me that.
Literally today or yesterday, I said, there's a sequel, right? She's writing another one.
Oh, okay.
And you said, yeah. So I guess you didn't. But what is it gonna like?
You're talking about something else. I don't know.
Where is it gonna start from? I tried to read on.
I understand it picks up where the first one leaves off, where the eyes are taking her out.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. But reading the notes and such, I'm led to believe that perhaps this revolution was racially motivated. Because if you bear with me here. My understanding was that the whites were having a declining birth rate. And so to keep the power, so to speak, they took over the government. And, oh, look, now we get all these handwives so we can keep the race going. Because somewhere in the book, the author Atwood talks about the children of Ham being put on a reservation.
Right.
And I had to look it up, but it's like, oh, African American people on a reservation. Well, isn't that interesting? So
It's very, very frightening. It's too, as he says, that there was just a perfect storm that came about from X, Y, and Z, and all those situations are existing right now. And, with
Some of them, not all of them.
All the abortion stuff happening right now, it's very clear to me that
and the white men being scared that they're being pushed out of power.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly what's going on. Ooh, I didn't say that. Shh.
But in the Q&A, she talks about how often she's asked, was this a prediction, or but she mentions that she did not want to write anything that had not happened before, that she didn't want to be responsible for being a monster and creating like these terrible things. And
giving them the ideas.
I don't think that's what happened.
Well, they talk about that in the historical notes.
No, I'm saying it's happened previous in many other civilizations, like in the past.
Here's the spin that they put on it, but it's the same kind of idea.
Yep.
I don't know if I got from the book. I don't know if I got like a really good sense of June.
Because we don't know her name. I mean, she was kind of painted in this.
She was kind of bland, I feel like.
Well, everything was meant to be seen that way because every woman was supposed to act the same and be the same piece. Right.
So, I think that's by design, in other words.
Right. Sadly.
That's why the more colorful characters, like her friend that
Moira.
She meets up with, Moira in the bordello, that that's where she is now, and she's still obviously more lively and more interesting in a way than, well, I'll call it June, but even though she's not June in the book.
Our main character.
Our
handmaid. How about that?
Handmaid.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. What? I don't know. I don't even know what to ask. I know this book is just like freaking me out.
Well, one of the creepier parts was the ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
The fact that what was it? Her description of it was good, where they had the wife, Serena Joy, and then the handmaid, basically with her head where I guess the wife's reproductive parts were, and one was holding on to the other, and she was in control. It's like, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, the show doesn't shy away from that. So I guess, after seeing it the first time, I didn't really think twice about reading it.
It was creepy enough the first time reading it. It was like, wow.
I think Margaret chose some really good descriptors in certain situations.
Oh yeah.
And how she put everything together and how everything was tied emotionally inside and out. Like there was also a negative emotion tied to things that were said. In how the society actually did its. I can't find the word I'm looking for. Like how their processes. The reason why they had the handmaids actually fight or beat up and kill the people who they were trying to
execution,
right. And then the reason why bodies were hung from the wall or the bridges so that they scarecrows.
Mm-hmm.
And then the descriptions she gave during when they were seeing these bodies, the blood coming through the cowl over their head and everything. Like everything was like just spot on. Like really good descriptions of everything that was going on. It's kind of impressive.
It's a very well written book, I thought. I have like 29 highlights, which I normally don't do.
Creepily well written.
Yes.
Let me see if I highlighted anything.
Oh,
Does it today?
toward John, toward your point you just made. It says, though if you look and look, as we are doing, you can see the outlines of the features under the white cloth like gray shadows. The heads are the heads of snowmen, with the coal eyes and the carrot noses falling out. The heads are melting.
Ick.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I have, but if you happen to be a man sometime in the future and you've made it this far, please remember you will never be subject to the temptation or feeling you must forgive a man as a woman. And then remember that forgiveness too is a power. To beg for it is a power, and to withhold or bestow it is a power, perhaps the greatest.
That's dirty too.
But I think I really liked this one. How easy it is to invent a humanity for anyone at all. What an available temptation. And then I don't want her to be like me. Give in, go along, save her skin. That is what it comes down to. I want gallantry from her. Swashbuckling, heroism, single-handed combat, something that I lack. And that was her description of Moira.
Right.
Yeah.
Hoping
Because
that
she
would
felt
be better.
like, yeah. Do you plan on watching the show at all, Tom?
I saw the first episode, and I was surprised at a couple of things, but they made the commander and his wife much younger.
Right.
Going back to that point, in the book, Serena Joy, the description that she gave, and I don't know if I have it highlighted, it says, "God, is that Tammy Faye Baker she's describing? Because that's what it just sounded like back in the day." Because she was talking about the makeup and whatnot. Because she used to be apparently the wife
A
of a
singer or
televangelist.
something.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and I'm not sure where I have the note, but it's like, oh my God, that's it certainly sounded like it was Tammy Faye Baker, but I have no idea. But it's interesting.
I was going to say, like, what are your thoughts on the commander?
Well, in a sense, he's as much a prisoner as everybody else, although he has more perks. In the sense that, what was it? He's lonely, and his wife is not any kind of companion, it seems, from reading the book. So he turns to the handmaid. Not that he's an object of pity, but this relationship between men and women that has been constructed here is very artificial, and nobody is getting any real benefit out of it. There's no love. It's just, he might go to a room to play Scrabble, for God's sakes.
Right. I mean, they didn't allow women to do anything. They couldn't read. They couldn't listen to music. They couldn't. And when you take away so many life experiences, what is there to talk about at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like, how I know. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, plus they paint the picture as, oh, you women are so lucky now. You don't have to put up with being catcalled in the street and whatnot. It's like, yeah, but but it's a significant negative that it's attached to that too. So
that's the whole difference between having the freedom. It's like freedom to and freedom of, or freedom from.
Freedom from, yes.
And it's sad that it's just that you have to give up one thing. What was it, like the illusion of freedom for the guarantee of safety, and that's just a whole lot of hoo-ha.
I got to a couple of different parts where I had to like stop and I called John to rant.
Well done, Ms. Atwood. All right.
And I mean, I just feel like you see it in politics today, how there's just like, as humans, we're flawed. We make mistakes. We're going to do certain things. We're going to mess up. And just the fact that there's certain people that somehow think they're above those mistakes, which they're not, but that they can dictate how other people should be penalized for the same mistakes that they're likely making. It's just like ridiculous to me. Like, if you're making those mistakes and other people are making those mistakes, hey, maybe we just are like flawed humans. So why do you get to say that you're better than anyone else? Like, why do you get to say that this person should be killed or locked up or punished in a specific way?
For doing the same things you're going to do behind closed doors anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Marianne.
Oh, we have a YouTube participant.
Yes. So the other
I tried
thing.
to wave at Marianne earlier.
Oh, is that why you're waving?
Yes, and I was wondering why. I was wondering what happened.
I just noticed. So that got me really riled up. But then when I was reading about him taking her to the club, how he was saying something about
how the men's behaviors is natural in nature. Oh my God.
No, it was him saying that he was like, men like variety. You know, why do you think women have so many clothes and things like that? It's because they're trying to like trick men into thinking they're different women or something along those lines. I was like, this is ridiculous. This is like, and it just made me angry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she called me so mad.
Just like, I don't know. We're not property. We're not puppets. We're people. We're humans. We're like, we have thoughts and feelings. And
not according to some, that's the point of the book. So that's the first thing that they did. Okay, you don't get access to your bank account. You give it to your husband.
That's like, they did that pretty good in the show too. I think they.
Oh, I think Tom will really like the show because they add more to the depth of the commander's character and they just add on to the story. So I'm wondering if her book sequel is going to be playing off of what they've added to it on the show.
Yeah, I was wondering that too because seeing where this book ends and knowing how much more we've seen in the show thus far,
which is kind of sad. Spoilers.
I can't imagine that she's just gonna pick up where the show.
Right. I mean, we had the same issue with George R. R. Martin. It's like the show did so much different that he's probably gonna be like, no, I don't want to go that route.
I don't know. I guess the same.
Well, they could end up at the same place, but they could take two different routes to get there.
Right.
True.
Without revealing too much, I believe it was the end of the second season. That last episode was just like, wow. There was just a lot.
The third season just dropped, didn't it?
It did, and we have not watched it yet. So, you want to watch an episode of that tonight? Yeah, I don't think they drop it like Netflix, right? It's not the whole thing. It's like once
I have no idea.
So I'm gonna have to look.
I have a lot of homework for my improv classes too. So, if you want to watch certain shows with me, I'll let you know what homework that is.
Okay.
Because it's a lot.
And I think I heard Margaret Atwood say that there was a Handmaid's Tale movie that came out.
Was it like late 80s that did that? Like 87-ish? I don't know.
I don't know.
Cheers.
I have to look it up.
I might have to check that out.
Oh,
in order for like a society like Gilead to work, all those people have to be willing to conform.
Yep.
And I know there's going to be people that do, but then at the same time, like, and survival is a thing that really kicks in, makes you do what you have to do. But I can't help but wonder what would happen to me because I might be willing to sacrifice my life to get out of there, to disobey, to be the one rebellious person that helps other people be rebellious. I don't know. What would you do?
Okay, so the movie was 1990. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In a society like Gilead.
We've already had the discussion. I'd probably be shot.
There you go.
Would you be Nick?
What?
I said, would you be Nick?
How would I be Nick if I'm dead? I probably would have fought against some
Nick risked a lot.
Bullshit.
Nick was risking a lot in a few different areas.
Well, that was one of the questions from the book is, was Nick and I himself?
I don't even know if they actually got to the point of that in the show. but it was questioned.
But what does that mean? What does that mean?
If he's
exactly?
one of the ones that actually has to deal with the crime and punishment, like the cops, basically.
Yeah, like the KGB in Russia, the secret police.
Yeah. The ones that actually dole out the punishment when they actually find somebody who's not abiding by their rules.
Mm-hmm.
Or one of the ones that are put in place in order to weed out those who are not abiding by the rules. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily the ones who doles out the justice, but the ones be like, hey, this guy's fucking up. And then they go grab him and then someone else.
I thought he was. Like... Or were those guardians that they were calling
Those
them?
are guardians. Like they're military police, like the ones that stand outside and just basically watch over everything.
And the black vehicles with the guns that like make them do everything, right?
Yeah, those aren't the same as the eyes.
Right.
The eyes are the secret police.
Mm.
The guardians are the actual police.
Okay. Then, because I thought he was more than just the driver.
Everybody thought that, but that was the point. They were made to believe that he was an eye, but they weren't completely sure. It never confirmed.
Yeah, he's also supposed to be part of the resistance too, so he was a double agent. So
sneaky.
Supposedly, we don't know.
Apparently, he's double sneaky.
And then the thing with the doctor.
Oh.
It's like, I can help you out with that.
He's like, okay, we'll talk about it next month.
Yeah.
And it wasn't him when she came back.
But they said something. I don't remember whose baby it was, but they said that like she had a miscarriage, like really late term or something like that.
Was that Janine? Because she had one previously.
Was it 8 months, something?
Yeah, Janine, I think it was.
I don't know. It sounded like they were insinuating that maybe the doctor's sperm wasn't all that good. That was the impression that I got. Because I think they were relating a couple of miscarriages to him fathering a few different kids or something.
Oh, that's one character which I think I appreciate more in the book than in the show, even though I saw only the one episode, because it takes them a while to get to what happens to Janine, whereas they go episode 1, boom, here it is.
Right.
So
I feel like I had a love-hate relationship with Janine on the show.
Oh, man. She was a really good actress for that character.
So.
Yeah, what I was going to say is more the show than the book, so I'll just...
let's try to keep it to the book. If you want to have a show discussion, you can go to the Goodreads page.
I'm trying to think what other characters...
Well, the Marthas.
Right.
I mean, the Marthas have their role, but I don't think there's much to the characters in the book.
And who were the Marthas again? Were the Marthas just like
the
servants, essentially?
Yeah, but why were they that? Was it just because they
were the
bear
older
children? They were like older, right?
They were the older women that they were no longer able to bear children.
Yeah, but they weren't aunts.
Aunts,
Yes.
aunts are special. They were
special,
hand selected to be that specific role because they were kind of like they were followed along. They actually went along with the societal changes for some fucking reason. But
that's what the notes say. There's always in every second in the population, there's some that will collaborate with the incoming power.
Oh, that's right. In order to keep their power.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Oh man, so much hatred for Lydia.
Yeah.
I did you pick up that? Oh, look, we have a color-coded society, just like the other book we read.
It's the trend.
It's a thing, I mean, that's why it's in a sense the suffering and such is kind of banal in the sense that you read any book of this type, it's going to be roughly similar,
right.
Like 1984, or or we read Red Rising, or any of the other books that
probably the next book we read is going to be similar.
So, Well, I understand it's a modern age My Handmaid's Tale, so we'll see. That's pretty high praise, though.
It
It has
was.
a lot to live up to.
It was.
Wait, The Power?
Yeah, it seems to be somewhat polarizing. Like some people really liked it, some people really didn't. But Obama recommended it. So
Oh, really? Oh, what?
There
Odd.
you go.
he read it and recommended it.
Maybe he was like, watch out.
But
I mean, I found it like kind of like the opposite of The Handmaid's Tale a little bit because women discover they have like this power versus in The Handmaid's Tale where they were kind of stripped of all their power. So I don't know.
Oh, so the roles reversed. Okay.
We'll see what happens in the next book.
and on the flip side of that is the graphic novel series Why the Last Man. He's literally the last man.
Right. I should
Wait.
read that.
As in, why is his name?
That's the title of the book. I haven't read it, but I understand that's the premise. Why, the last man.
The last one with that chromosome.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to The Handmaid's Tale.
Well, that way I didn't direct anything.
What else is there to be said about The Handmaid's Tale?
What about the notes at the end? I think those are one of the most fascinating part of the book.
I think it's meant to be. Desirai, it just seemed like she didn't like that too much.
What do you mean?
You complained about it to me.
What did I say?
I don't remember, but I just know it seemed kind of negative. But I like that because it was more of an intellectual, like it was a think speak. It was just like, hey, let's talk about this. What and I like how some of the people who were asking questions were all like, can this even happen nowadays? Can this even? And he was
sure
like,
can.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. If certain things align, like the perfect storm you used earlier. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they go into like character traits. They go into like they even question like Nick's motives and things. So that was kind of cool.
I think I was a little bit in and out during that part because it felt like it was going on for a long time and it was just so academic.
They pulled you from the story?
A little bit. I was kind of like, what? I wasn't sure what was happening.
That was why you complained about it then.
But it's still like, I think I tuned back in during all the questions when people were like, what's this or what's that? Or, did you guys find this? And that's what made me feel like it was just so on the nose. I was like, this had to be added after the fact because if she wrote all of this beforehand, like, wow.
That's scary. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What year do you happen to remember, Tom? What year they were supposed to be in after going back and because Desiree brought it up before, is that they're talking about like reassembling and getting an iPad to work again. Like it's supposed to be like 1,000 years later or something like that, right?
What, in Gilead?
No, the things
Where the notes are.
Yeah.
Let me look.
Oh, okay.
2195.
Okay.
Oh, that's not that far off.
That's far off enough.
It's 100-something years at least.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. That's one of the things I noticed is, that was a long time for the people who were living in it, but in historically wise, it's just a blip on the radar.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why they were talking about it so casually. Desiree, that was one of the things she complained about. He's like, they're just talking about it like it was just some. It was just historical facts, and they're all like, "Would this happen? Why does this happen?"
Like the Holocaust, it's
that's
like
right.
It's just absolutely awful to the people who are in it, but
completely zero emotional attachment.
Well,
whatsoever.
yeah, I mean, there was definitely a disconnect, but there's also this fascination around it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking the people that survived it and lived it aren't quite as fascinated with it.
Well, this is supposed to be generations later,
right?
Yeah, well, that's what Kundera calls the unbearable lightness of being. In the sense that we have these huge historical things that happen, but they, as history goes on, they lose their effectiveness and it becomes just like a historical fact that you memorize for tests and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So.
We have all these freaking deniers of like history not happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm almost certain they're all idiot white dudes. They're all like, that didn't happen. You can't tell me that didn't happen. I'm sorry. I'll pick on them all I want.
It was interesting on that the notes were filed from the Institute of Caucasian Studies. Like it was a minority.
Right.
I mean, that's what they're trying to prevent, right?
It's awful. No, yeah, from none of it. I have no idea where that is. Is that Alaska? It sounds like it's Alaska. But yeah, it was just an interesting change of perspective because throughout the whole book we're invested in this person's life, and then we get to the shall I say mansplaining part of the book and say that no, yeah, her experience doesn't really count. We're really more interested in Waterford, or like who the commander was, because he was historically relevant and she wasn't.
Right.
Because he's the one that came up with the red uniforms and they were particular and all that.
Well, he was verifiable. He verifiably existed.
But our character, that's why it's part of why she's renamed Nameless, is because they had like, was it Off Glen or Off Red? Of Fred, sorry.
Yeah.
That's one thing that drove me crazy in the series, because they were calling her Off Red. It's like, no, she's not Off Red. She's of Fred. That's different. So, but they were by design interchangeable. So,
I was upset with that too, Tom. I really was. I was like, her name is of Fred, not Off Red. You guys are just reading the scripts wrong. Directors, you need to tell them what they're doing wrong.
What?
But apparently they just didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, but it's
not the same word.
Name. It still became a name. It wasn't like two separate words.
I know.
They tried to make it a name of Glenn, of
Fred,
mm-hmm.
of Warren, of not Off.
I think with a guy's name that didn't begin with an F, I guess.
Her name is Off.
I don't know.
So
they weren't even allowed to say their names, their real names.
What, the names from before?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why I was so critical that she was debating telling Nick her real name, at one point. But she obviously didn't, so.
Good for her.
I'm surprised that Serena smoked.
I'm not.
What does she have to live for, I guess? That's the question.
Well, I mean, she didn't have to worry about having babies and worrying about killing the baby with cigarette smoke. They already knew that she couldn't.
Yeah, but that's probably why she resented Fred.
So I can actually imagine that was actually said that all the wives ended up resenting the handmaids.
Because her being there was a visual representation of, hey, you could not produce a child, so.
Do they show the ceremony in the first episode?
I don't recall.
I don't think so.
Maybe.
Really?
I don't remember.
I think it was that most of the first episode was just set up.
Oh,
I just remember seeing the ceremony and being like, what the hell am I watching? It was pretty weird.
Oh, that reminds me of the Sacred Skulls. I thought that was interesting, how they would dial in the thing, and then the computer would print the prayer, and then that would be saying it, and then it would go back to the cycle, so you could just print off another prayer.
It's crazy. We got more to go into in your final thoughts.
Well, I guess we could probably do final thoughts.
Anything from YouTube or not?
No. Okay. No, Marianne popped in. I don't know if she's still watching, but she didn't comment after I said hi.
I think it's because she said hi so long ago. Yeah. Sorry,
Marianne. Thanks for coming. So final thoughts. I I feel like everybody should read this. And if you don't want to read it for whatever reason, then watch the damn show.
Already,
I've been trying to get my teenager to watch the TV show for like ever now, and he refuses.
She was just projecting her feelings onto everybody else about that.
Apparently,
he refuses because he's got it in his head that it's just this very old timey thing, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. But I think it's an important watch or read.
Read if you're so inclined.
I think we're just going through specific fiction that ends up being a documentary later on, and it's upsetting. Like at first, we were talking about Idiocracy and what was going on 4 or 5 years ago, and now we're here. The Handmaid.
Now we're living it. Yeah.
What's next? Hunger Games. Your rating?
I didn't love the writing style, so I would say 4. I'd give it a 4. That's what I would give it. I'd give it 4 stars on Goodreads. Although I do want to add that I kind of wish that I had read it first, because I'm not sure. Usually if you read a book based on, or if you watch something and then read the book, there's usually a lot more additional information, but I don't think that was the case here. I feel like the show added a lot more.
The show did add a lot more, and they explained things more too.
Yeah, so I don't feel like I got more out of reading the book.
I would say I did, just because of the stuff they added on after the show was released. So I think we kind of watched, or we kind of like consumed that media in the correct order. If we had read the original book first, it would have been better. You're right about that. But since we had the special edition after the show was released, and after she had answered a lot of the questions that some people had after the show,
right?
It was a substantial amount of information that was tacked onto it afterwards. I would give it a 5. I'm not going to say it was it was absolutely amazing, but I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I thought I would. But the writing style and like the descriptors, like there's so much about Margaret Atwood's writing that I think is absolutely amazing, because there's more nuance to each chapter, and I also, I consumed it through audio media, so there was more to it than there was in the book. So I guess my rating is for the audiobook.
Which is fine.
So that being said, what did you think of the Claire Danes' delivery?
I mean, what would you expect?
That's not about what I would expect. I don't know.
Because I think it was perfect. Okay. I mean, if anybody else had read it, it probably wouldn't have been as good in my eyes. Or ears.
What about you, Tom?
I thought it was very, very well written. I think what sets it apart, I mean, apart from the prescience, which, the subject matter portrays or shows, I think that the epilogue will really seal the deal for me.
Agreed.
In that sense. How, we have this, we don't know this at the time, but, is the narrator reliable, for example? Or, they say that, they found this as a collection of tapes, and they had to put all this, now when does this happen? This tape, does this tape come before this tape? Like sequencing the story and such. So, and they look at it, of course, as a historical document, not like this person's experience, which, over the course of time would diminish, like I said, like we talked about. I give it a 4. I could see it maybe a 4.5. So, but since Goodreads does not allow half stars, I'll keep it at a 4. And for FYI, when the Van Door slammed on Fred's future at the end of The Handmaid's Tale, readers had no way of telling what lay ahead for her, freedom, prison, or death. With the Testaments, the wait is over. Margaret Atwood's sequel picks up the story 15 years after Of Fred stepped into the unknown, with the explosive testaments of 3 female narrators from Gilead. Dear readers, everything you've ever asked me about Gilead and its inner workings is the inspiration for this book. Well, almost everything. The other inspiration is the world we've been living in. So, due out in September.
You just read a spoiler for yourself.
What?
Not really. I don't think so.
All right.
He doesn't have enough context.
Okay.
But
All right, you're good. Never mind.
15 years is a long time.
Yeah.
It is.
And now her baby's grown. So what happens now? Ooh.
I wonder if the society is still as it was 15 years later.
Oh man, if it actually goes through a story of her helping break it down, that's kind of cool.
That's what I understand the third season's about, but I had no idea. I haven't seen. I only saw one episode.
All right. Let us know when you caught up.
Yeah, well,
there'll be more to talk about, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
So this month, for the month of June, we are actually reading The Power by Naomi Alderman. And I'm debating whether I want to claim this or not. Hold on. I just got Amazon telling me they want to give me a $5 credit. Okay, The Power.
Is that just a... Oh?
Alright. It says, all over the world, women and girls are discovering they have the power. With the flick of the fingers, they can inflict terrible pain and even death. And with this small twist of nature, everything changes drastically. Ambitious, provocative, visceral, and page-turning, award-winning author Naomi Alderman's The Power at once takes us on a journey to an alternate reality and exposes our own world in bold and surprising ways. So I'm looking forward to that.
I think I am too. There was another question I had about The Handmaid's Tale, though.
What?
And it stinks because I was like, right before she started reading that, I was like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And then now it's gone. Let me see if I can pull it back.
You can do it. I have faith in you.
What were we talking about at the end there?
Tom had read the summary for the Testaments, which is the second book that's coming out. You said September? Did I just make that?
It says on the Goodreads, September 10th, 2019.
Oh, what about the idea that we kind of read that in May? Do you think that was a better choice than in June because of May Day?
Oh.
Or June being her name?
I don't think it really matters.
No, but I thought it was cute because May Day was kind of it was a recurring theme and name of the resistance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, May Day.
I don't think Tom knew that when he selected the book.
No, he didn't. But I think, like I said, I like little things that kind of fit like that. Even though it is kind of a little thing.
Well, I mean, if you're going for literary reference, I was thinking of putting on James Joyce's Ulysses because Bloomsday is on June 16th, but that would never make it. So I was like, I'm not even going to bother.
That's funny. All right. Well, that is a wrap on The Handmaid's Tale. Thank you guys for joining us after the fact. If you're here watching, as a reminder, if you want to join us in our discussions on camera in the Hangout, you can do that by becoming a book club VIP member on patreon.com/Libri Labra. There's a few other perks. One involves being able to select books in a rotation for our reading group to vote on. You get a bookmark, and you get to join our book club VIP Facebook chat. Outside of that, thanks again for joining me. You too, Tom. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
My mouth.
I was